Hi there, I'm Dr. Liz Carter, and today I wanted to give you a free mini lesson on the five elements and how they relate to your personality. So we're going to cover three topics today. One, what the five elements are. Two, why they're valuable in your life. And three, how you can make them work for you. So let's jump right in. Let's get into what the five elements are. So I've got my handy dandy cheat sheet here. As you can see, there's a good reason I am a doctor and not an artist, but hopefully this gets the job done for you to understand what they are. So I've written out the five elements here, and I've included traditional symbols and coloring for each of the elements. So wood we've got here in green. I've drawn a little tree. In Chinese medicine, usually it's seen as bamboo, but I am not as talented an artist to draw bamboo. So we've got the tree there. Fire traditionally is red, and we've got our little campfire here as the symbol for fire. Earth is yellow, and we can see I've got some rolling hillsides over here. The yellow is actually a brownish yellow in Chinese medicine. It's kind of the soil that's nutrient dense. And so yellow is the color of earth. Metal we've got represented here is gray. Its actual color is white, but that's a little bit tough to portray on a white piece of paper. So oftentimes you see it as gray or purple. I went with gray here because of the little symbol we've got going on. It's like a little mineral or gemstone. Metal is mineral. It's kind of rock, ore from mountains. Think about like shale or granite, that type of thing. So that's the metal element in Chinese medicine. And then we've also got water here, which of course is represented as blue. It's also traditionally black in that it's really interesting. At some point we didn't have the gene to be able to see the color of blue. So in Chinese texts, you can see people referring to the ocean as black, and then all of a sudden they refer to it as blue. So you can see when that color gene evolved, which is pretty cool. And so we've got water represented as waves right over here. But water can be anything, right? It can be ice, it can be steam, a river, a pond, very dynamic element. So this is why I love the five elements. They do actually relate to your personality. That's kind of what the rest of this little mini lesson is about, which I think is pretty amazing, right? We can actually look to a river or a tree to see a little bit about ourselves. And it's also part of why I love the five elements in terms of our understanding our personality a little bit more than other personality tests like the Big Five, which associates your personality test with colors, an Enneagram, which is more archetypal, and Myers-Briggs, which is based on the philosophy of Carl Jung, also having to do with kind of archetype. You have that introvert, extrovert, thinking, feeling, that type of thing. And all of those concepts are amazing and completely valid, especially if you really identify with them. I just find them a little bit harder to relate to than the five elements, because the five elements, I mean, we see in front of us every day. We have this visceral or gut instinct feeling about what a fire is, or what wood is, or what water is. So I think in that way it's very easy to relate to and start to understand yourself in terms of these lovely things we see in nature. And five element theory in Chinese medicine has been around for 5,000 years. I mean, it's got a lot of time behind it, and I think that helps kind of the validity of what we're seeing here. And I have to say too, clinically, I've loved it working with my patients, not only to help me as a practitioner in terms of understanding what they need and where they need to go, but also educating them about what their element is. And when they know, they can start to make really significant changes in their life. And I've seen quite a few people do that, and it's really, really inspiring. So that covers our first section here. Let's jump on in to the next section. Let's get this turned here for you. Right, so why are the elements valuable, you know? And this is something we can ask ourselves about any personality tests that we like to take, right? We're always looking for that little piece of insight into ourselves. You know, am I acting in a way that I think I should, or what does this test say about me and my life and how I'm living it? And the five elements really can give you that, but they also give you this incredibly deep understanding of who you are. The elements are really deeply rooted within all of us, so not only do we get kind of that fun novelty stuff, but we also really get to the core of who we are when we learn about the elements. So I've written up a list of a few things as to why they might be valuable in your life, right? So when you know your element, you can understand a little bit better in how you react to conflict, right? Are you someone who likes to get angry and really kind of get in people's faces and get your point across? Or are you someone that kind of steps back, maybe takes a moment, or doesn't really even want to engage in conflict at all? Your communication style, it's similar, right? Are you aggressive? Are you a peacekeeper? Are you someone who likes to kind of lay low and not necessarily engage with people in that way? Adaptation, right? Can you go with the flow easily through life? Or are you someone that maybe gets a little bit more stuck and has a really hard time moving forward easily and adapting to change? The five elements can also tell you about your relationship, right? Of course, how you relate to other people as well as yourself. Your strengths and weaknesses, right? All elements have strengths and weaknesses. There is no good element or bad element. Everybody has their own challenges, and it's really fabulous when you can get in touch with those, because then you can start to change them, right? And then also comforts and stresses, right? All these things that make us up, there are 5 different ways to kind of interpret those or go about them based on the 5 elements. So everybody kind of has a unique combination of these. And when you start to get insight, right, this is when we start to really see transformation of the self, when we understand these unconscious drivers in our life, what's pulling us in a certain direction and we don't necessarily know why. We start to uncover the truth of these motivators, and we can start to change, which is really fabulous, right? That's why we all want to learn about ourselves, is to make that positive change in our life. Okay, so on to the next bit, right? Making the 5 elements work for you. So in this section, I just wanted to relate the 5 elements in nature to your personality. So you can see that connection a little bit between these natural forces and who you are, to understand that the 5 elements really do impact your life and can, give you some positive changes. So looking at wood here, I've highlighted that it's rooted but flexible, right? So when we look at wood or trees, bamboo especially, that's very deeply rooted stuff. Have you ever tried to remove that from your garden? Man, it does not want to go anywhere. And it's very similar with wood people, right? They're very strong, grounded, rooted, stable people, and reliable a lot of the time, right? But it's really important that they remain flexible, because with that strength, you can get to this inflexible part, right? You can become unbending, and then what happens if you don't have that flexibility? Wood, a tree branch will snap, or bamboo will break, right? So they have to maintain this flexibility of opinion and lifestyle to be healthy. So fire here, we've got inviting but flighty, right? We all know that a fire, a campfire especially, right? It's very warm, inviting, it's entertaining. People love just staring at the fire. They're drawn to it, right? Fire people are very similar. They're entertainers, great hosts, very warm people, very friendly, and they love connecting with people. But they can be flighty as well, right? If we think about a fire, we can't actually catch a fire. We can't grab a flame. And it's very similar with the people, right? We can't really pin them down. And when they're out of balance, when they're not grounded, they can kind of just float through life, flutter away, not really be grounded. So that's something to watch out for as a fire personality. Earth here, we've got nurtures but crumbles. I know that one might be a little hard to read with the yellow. So if we think about the soil, right, that's where we get all of our nutrients from. That's how we grow our food. It really provides the basis for life. We couldn't survive without that. Earth people are very similar. They're incredibly giving, nurturing souls. But if they give too much, and just like soil, if it becomes nutrient depleted, it can crumble, right? It can crumble away, and then it can't give anymore. So that's something that Earth personality types kind of need to be careful of that way. Metal, so I've got structured but rigid. So if we think about that crystalline structure we talked a little bit about with the gemstone form of metal or minerals, is that those atoms have to align super precisely, right, to end up in the right spot, so that crystalline structure can form. And it's very specific to the type of atom and the way it has to be oriented, all of these things. And the people are very similar. They can be very structured and precise, which is wonderful for planning, and they're very detail-oriented. But you can get a little bit too rigid in that mindset sometimes, right? Things need to be perfect and exact. So metal people have to be really careful about actually letting go of that and being okay with a little bit of flow in their life. So the last element here, water, I've got dynamic but extreme, right? And we talked about this a little bit earlier where we can see water in solid, liquid, or gas, right? It's the only element that's that dynamic. We can be, a water person can be a tidal wave, really overwhelming and intense in your face, or they can be this kind of deep mountain pool that's very cool and reflective and maybe even cut off from the world. Water types can be that way a little bit where there's this secretiveness. You know, when you look at the surface of water, you never know exactly what's brewing below it. So that's kind of water types is reigning in that extremeness, right, and finding some moderation so they can kind of have this happiness in moderation with their personality. So there you have it. There's the mini lesson for the 5 elements. I hope this was really helpful. I hope it kind of sparked your curiosity for learning more about the 5 elements. Again, I found it massively helpful, not only in my own personal life, but for my patients. And that's part of why I designed the 5-element personality test for you guys. So if you're interested, feel free to click the link below and get started with the test. You know, it's really lovely for embracing yourself, understanding who you are rather than who you think you should be, and really making some of those dreams a reality once you have this self-knowledge to propel you forward. So thanks again for watching. Take care. Bye.